All right, guys, so I'm back at it. Got this little guy to work on. It's not that really big of a job. However, what happened is they put patch plates over that and it busted apart. Now I personally am not a big fan of patch plates, and I understand the need to try and make it last a little longer. So I appreciate their efforts, which is nice. They try to make it last as long as they can, which is good. However, if you're able to repair that area properly, in my view, I should say, then there shouldn't be a need for patch plates. And so I get suggestions all the time that on Instagram or even through some of the videos here on YouTube that say you should put patch plates over that. I don't like doing that because it just doesn't. It makes that area too rigid, and what can happen is that all the heat affected zone around that whole area will suddenly become a lot weaker. So you'll have the weld around the perimeter creating issues for this area, or let's say on the excavator boom, and so it just creates more problems if in case that boom, because the booms want to flex a little bit. That's just the way they are. They're built that way. And so if they'd put patch plates from the beginning to say that that was a structural part, then sure, not a problem. But once you start putting these things, and the boom, let's say on the excavator starts to flex, it's creating a lot of stress on the outside perimeter of whatever plate you're putting on there. And that just creates more issues because you could get hairline cracks, the heat affected zone naturally around the weld as well. And let's say it does help that area, well, fantastic. So now the stress or the problem will move somewhere else. And that's just the way it is. I mean, machines will find the weakest link, weakest spot. And that's just the way, things go when you're starting to work these machines really hard, especially in the rock that's out here. So, I think my thoughts on this is to cut this guy out down here and just reinstall a piece of square tube. It's not that hard. It's a simple fillet weld, I believe, right here, back in here. So I'll gouge that off, cut it apart, reinstall the pins, reinstall a square tube there, a piece of 4-inch. It's only 4 inch by quarter, 4 by 4 by quarter. Customer's gonna bring me some pins, and then we'll go from there. So hang tight. Alright, so maybe a little touch up with the flat disc or so. Clean that edge up a little bit. There's a little crack beginning there, no problem. Got most of it off, at least. Oh, sorry, I had to get that part off. Well, that should be good. So I'll just check what the angle is on that other leg, and we'll go from there. I didn't have a plasma gouging tip, so I was just kind of doing a little zigzag back and forth, just so long as I was able to keep the arc on the plasma going, and so a further distance away, that way the jet of oxygen, sorry, compressed air, won't be so strong and pierce through that metal. So just kind of let it feather away, and that's good enough. Should be able to get it with the flat disc or grinder way up in there. Clean that up. Clean this up. It's better than it was before, so it should be fine. Let me see what else. Actually, I thought this piece was square, or the tube was square to that, so I got to figure out what angle that is. It shouldn't be bad though. Ooh, yeah, there's some cracks right there. Gotta clean that up. Maybe it's tearing apart in there as well. Most likely is. Being this, I gotta put some new side plates. Got a nice little iron worker. Let me cut that. Should be easy enough. All right, so next step. All right, so after a little bit of cutting, well, actually a lot of cutting, I cut all this stuff off here. I initially thought I would replace this whole thing, but what may happen is if I put the original thickness of the material, it's going to be too high, and it'll always rub. And so I just made an adjustment for it, and that's the size plate I'm going to be welding on there. Still follow that same pattern like it was before. I have to cut a new one out. It's no biggie. And so here it's got a little bit of a gap. I'm not sure if I'll fill it in, but I might. And it's quite a bit of a gap. I guess that's just the way they were. So I may put a piece of like 3/8 bar in there just to fill it. It's better than nothing at this point. Besides this plate that goes over it, will be able to hold it or support it better. And there'll be a weld here, and there's some also side pieces. And this guy was a little bit bent, so I'm going to be squeezing this back up in its original spot. And I don't actually have a proper shaft. Goes around the other side, but you can kind of wiggle this and see where it's flat, and it works. And besides those holes in it, down there are pretty sloppy, so close enough. It's close enough, because I don't think they're going to want to cut those ears off to put the right size hole, which kind of stinks, but it's better than nothing sometimes, you know. At least the arm will hold up, and then at that point we'll fix that later if wanting to because they're a bit rushed. They're wanting this back in a hurry. So, not much to it but to do it. I'll be cutting some pieces here, very similar to the ones that are on the other side. It's not that tough, just 1/4" flat plate. And I was able to clean this up pretty good. What else? I guess just weld it. So, hang tight. More or less. That's horrible. Okay, well that stinks. That was horrible. But when you consider it didn't have anything to something, something's better than nothing. So I'll clean that up with a grinder, and then the piece that I put up against it, I'll have a bevel naturally, so it'll fill all that in and be 100% again. So, you know, part of the problem, well, it actually didn't break there, it broke over here, so it doesn't make sense. But you know, that could have caused a problem, that it was just not filled in there at some point. So anyway, as ugly as it is, hopefully I can make it pretty. And this has a little bit of a gap, which is fine because it'll at least be able to penetrate pretty good. And from this point, or the width of this tube, I welded behind there. So that's this tube is welded to this piece. Now this piece will be welded there, and then it'll be in here as well. So keep moving. Right. Well, it's done. Man, I'm just not a MIG guy anymore. I don't know that I ever was, really. But anyway, it's not the prettiest. It's not going to fall off, I hope. I contacted the customer. Those holes down there are way too sloppy. So they're going to think about it for a second. If anything, what we can do maybe is cut some larger diameter washers that go on the outside out of the same thickness material. You have to get a longer pin, but we can make that work if they don't want to cut them off. So, use the same. Those ears are 1/2 inch thick, so maybe create some 1/2 inch thick washers to put on the outside, to weld on the outside instead of those ears there. And that'll buy them a little bit more time, but ultimately they're going to have to do something with that. They're going to have to cut that off. But of course, nobody wants to stop a machine until it absolutely has to and tear something off, just like this arm did. So, guess we'll have to wait. Not the best, not the worst, but it will get back to work. So, no complaints. So like I mentioned before, those holes back there are a little bit sloppy, but it seems to work all right. And it is what it is. Hopefully they would decide to get them fixed, because it's just sloppy. So pretty straightforward repair. Fortunately, I had a piece of square tube laying around. I just brushed it up a little bit, cleaned it up. Same wall thickness as this guy over here, so 4x4 So easy enough. There's a little bit of work, but in the long run, it lasts a lot longer. Because I could have tried and welded it all back together, but these guys are gonna abuse the tar out of it, so I may as well do it right. And if they let me, may as well. Other than that part, they may be back for that. But at least this side won't let go anymore. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll move on to the next one. See ya.